Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be my September wrap up. What I'm going for here is a werewolf with white fur. So that's why I look like this. Let's get into the books. First is Fausta Borgia's Beauty and the Beast. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling by Fausta Borgia. It is somewhere on the line between romance and erotica. There are quite a few sex scenes, and that is a large point of the story, but there is also a lot of romantic elements, very sweet elements. So in this case, a twist is that the beast, part of his curse is needing to have sex with a woman fairly often. So he arranges to have a woman companion for a year and pays her or her family a large amount of money in advance. She works for him for a year and then he exchanges her for another woman, and she goes off and lives her life much enriched from what she had before. So that is the circumstance that one of our characters is in. Her family is not a nice family and they make the arrangements, but she also kind of wants to be away from them because they are stifling. So she goes to work for the beast and they fall in love. And it's adorable. 4 stars. Then we have Claimed by the Orc Prince. This one, I think I just happened to see it on KU. It was very nice. It is part of a trilogy, I think, so we're going to continue following the same couple for a while, but this is their initial love story, and it is an arranged marriage between an orc prince and an elf prince. They have been at war, and this is to seal a treaty, and there is a magical thing where when elves get married in this magical ceremony, they are then able to feel some of the emotions of the person they're married to, and that is part of the romance, and it's very cute. And I do love an arranged marriage trope, and the whole mixing of cultures and trying to figure out how to interact with each other's cultures and ways of doing things. And I enjoy that, so I gave this one 5 stars. Then we have The Climate Book, edited by Greta Thunberg. This is a big 17-hour audiobook collection of essays by scientists about the field that they're working in climate science. So there's stuff about methane versus CO2 and how those specifically interact with the environment as greenhouse gases, which was very interesting to me because I hadn't heard about how exactly methane worked versus CO2 before. There were experts on forests and how forests, if temperatures continue to rise, could turn into carbon emitters instead of sinks because of all of the wildfires. There were experts on the Arctic who talked about the ice receding from places that have permafrost and carbon coming out of the ground there, and that being a feedback loop as well. There were experts on species going extinct and marine life, and it was all very interesting, and I liked how it came to some conclusions about what individuals can do. And basically it talked about how individuals, like not eating meat and not driving as much, won't make a difference, but individuals doing those things as activism, as a way to convince other people to take climate change seriously, and then to convince those people to organize collectively to affect how governments and companies do things, and to eventually move society towards a place where we aren't so consumerist and where the demand for things goes down. That is how individuals can make a difference, by collectively organizing and seeking out other people and showing people in our individual lives that we're taking this seriously and it is something to be taken seriously. So it's very informative, and also I would say overall encouraging, even though there's a lot of information about how bad things are and how close we are to starting some feedback loops that will make things worse. I think the parts that Greta put in between each of the sections of essays really pointed towards hope and encouragement rather than surrendering to despair. Then we have Love Letters for Joy, which is by a disabled, fat ace person, and is about a disabled fat ace person. This is about a teen girl with cerebral palsy who is on the ace spectrum and kind of figures that out through the book. And she has never had a high school romance. This got moved. And she kind of wants one, and at their school there is someone that you can write emails to who is anonymous, and they will help you with your love life. Specifically, they will help you write letters to someone you want to declare your feelings to, and give you other advice, called Caldwell Cupid, because Caldwell is the name of their school. She also has a rivalry with someone, an academic rivalry, who has been equaling her for grades and beating her out for valedictorian for the entire time she's been in high school. She's a senior now and is applying for different colleges. Sense of worth has kind of rested on her academic abilities because she feels less than because of her cerebral palsy. That is addressed through the book, and it's somewhat about her coming to terms with her internalized ableism as well as struggling with ableism from outside. Not too bad in that area, but a little bit. And it is about a romance that she has. Yeah, it was published this year, and I'm just so glad that books with this type of representation are now becoming much more common than they were 3 or 4 years ago. It was pretty hard to find traditionally published books with asexual representation when I first started looking for that. But now there are quite a few books that are fairly easier to find, and because they're trad published, are available from the library. So that's really great. And I gave Love Letters for Joy 4.5 stars. Then I read You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. This is about two people who, one of whom has been starring in soaps and one of whom has been starring in telenovelas, working together on a Americanized telenovela that is made into a shorter, more condensed sort of series for an American audience, kind of like Jane the Virgin. And I don't like telenovelas or soaps, and so I was kind of worried that this would kind of be too much like them, but it really does not have the like super dramatic elements that those stories tend to. But it has a lot of respect for both the makers of soaps and telenovelas and for the viewers. So I really liked how it isn't necessarily that type of story, but it is a bit of a love letter to that type of story. Both our characters have been burned by relationships in the past and burned by society and the media in general, so they are kind of worried about having another high-profile romance, which it would be if they had a romance with their co-star. And this MC has a son to worry about, so there's a lot of reasons they feel they shouldn't get together, but they feel drawn to each other, both emotionally and sexually. And I really enjoyed their romance and the way things worked out. I think it was really well done. 5 stars to You Had Me at Hola. And lastly, An Island Princess Starts a Scandal by Adriana Herrera. I love this cover. Unfortunately, I had a bit of a difficult time with this book. I loved a lot of aspects of it. I really loved Cora, the character who isn't this one, from the beginning through like 250 pages. Then she started to get frustrating. Conversely, this character, Manuela, was irritating for the first 250 pages and then was less irritating. I loved how it talks about the art scene and the lesbian scene in Paris during the expo, the World Expo. This is part of a trilogy that involves 3 friends, one of whom was in a Caribbean heiress in Paris, and that was all about commerce and how women took part in that in this time. And this is all about Latina women taking part in art in that time, queer women specifically. Everything about the queer society and the women's societies and them working together and finding each other, finding community with each other, even when to an extent things had to be kept secret, because queer people were not accepted in society, though it was a bit easier for queer women than queer men because it was not illegal. But of course the women have other difficulties that the men don't have. Manuela's family is from La República Dominicana, but went to Venezuela to be in exile because they didn't agree with what was going on in the government at the time. And Cora's family, her mom was indigenous to Chile, and her father was, I think, an American, a white American who moved down to Chile. I really love her background, but there was something where she married someone who had a son, and the age at which she married the person and the age the son was when she married him, and like when various things happened in her background, the numbers didn't always line up. So like, I'm not sure if that didn't get edited correctly or if my math brain wasn't doing it right, but that was a little confusing. But I really liked her background and how she had a stepson who she loved so much, and the various families and friends who surrounded our main characters. I really enjoyed them. So even though some of the characters' choices were irritating to me at various times, I really did enjoy it overall. So I gave it 4.5 stars. And that is all I read in September. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to leave an emoji, if there's a wolf emoji, leave one of those. If there's only a dog, leave one of those. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!